16-year-old. We were married for 18 years. I've always been a bit reserved, while she's been outgoing and flirtatious. I didn't mind her being friendly and attractive. It just seemed like a part of her personality. We enjoyed going to restaurants, and our favorite spot was quite popular. Making reservations there could be challenging, but my wife had a way of always securing us a table. She was friends with the male host, who was 23, tall and good-looking. I felt uneasy about their relationship, especially since she was a bit flirty with him. I worried because he was so much younger, but my wife reassured me that everything was fine. Apparently, he had a serious girlfriend, and my wife mentioned that she tipped him well. Rest assured, one day as I was heading to the train station, I bumped into the male host and his girlfriend. He recognized me and greeted me warmly. That encounter put my worries to rest because, as far as I knew, they were not close friends. He seemed to be the guy my wife tipped to secure us a reservation at our favorite restaurant ahead of everyone else. In the beginning of 2022, my wife set a New Year's resolution to lose 40 pounds before turning 40, so she started hitting the gym every day after work. In a short span, she shed a significant amount of weight, and it didn't go unnoticed. I began to notice other men staring at her during our date nights. After the weight loss, she started making some changes that raised a slight concern in me. It felt like she might be going through a midlife crisis. Then, one day she came home from work and out of the blue, expressed her desire for a boob job. I tried to dissuade her, although not very forcefully, as she was footing the bill herself. Being a successful businesswoman, she proceeded with it, and the results were astonishing. She became a head-turner, capable of causing traffic accidents. At the time, she was 39, so I chalked it up to her wanting to fulfill a long-standing desire before feeling like it might be too late. Since the boob job, she started dressing sexier, embracing skimpy underwear and loving thongs. It added a spark to our relationship, although occasionally it made our teenage kids squirm, which I found amusing. Once, one of them mentioned that an ankle bracelet carries a swinging connotation. She had asked for one for her 41st birthday, and I had bought her an elegant one with diamonds. She dismissed the notion, and we had a good laugh about it. I personally didn't care whether it did or didn't, but it was clear that the kids did. In the summer of 2021, she suddenly decided that she didn't like one of our cars. We've always shared our two cars. There's no his and hers. The car in question was a Lexus LX 570, a really nice vehicle, albeit in a color she now found unappealing. It had been a good deal due to its color, even though she claimed not to care about it when we bought it. However, her opinion had changed. She set her heart on a Cayenne S Coupe, which was quite pricey and would be the most expensive thing we owned aside from our house. After a lot of convincing and various means of persuasion, I gave in. I ended up covering most of the cost to upgrade from the Lexus LX 570 to a blood red Cayenne S Coupe. It's a fantastic car, not that I've ever driven it. It's apparently her car, and that's fine by me. I'm happy with our arrangement. If I drove it, I'd probably just dent it. It's a noticeable change in her attitude, considering she used to be content with sharing cars. Another red flag popped up when she decided to get herself completely waxed. I wasn't complaining. In fact, I loved it. However, it was another new thing, a departure from her younger self. Then came the revelation that she wanted to tattoo a big flower design on her thigh. It felt reminiscent of the boob job situation. She had already made up her mind, and it was going to happen. Once again, the kids expressed discomfort, but I didn't want to make it a big deal. It didn't bother me. She went ahead with the tattoo, and I offered emotional support, telling her she looked amazing. Still, I couldn't help but wonder what might be coming next. It felt like she was going through some sort of midlife crisis. In October 2021, things took a significant turn as she began pulling away. She started coming home late, and intimacy between us dwindled to weeks without connection. Suspicion arose in me, and I confronted her about the possibility of someone else being in the picture. She became defensive and annoyed, denying any such thing. I believed her fitness obsession, the expensive car purchase, and her new wardrobe were symptoms of something more significant that she was hiding. Then, one day, she dropped a bombshell. She admitted she had never been truly in love with me and never desired me sexually. For several months, I struggled to understand what had happened. I pleaded with her to tell me what I could do to save our marriage and keep our family together, because I still loved her. I suggested marriage counseling, but initially, she refused. It was only after involving her family that she changed her mind and agreed to give us a second chance. As we began counseling after just 2 weeks, she confessed during a session that, for the past 5 months, she had been having an affair with the male host from our favorite restaurant. She dropped a bombshell during counseling, confessing that she was madly in love with the male host and considered him her soulmate, the person she had been waiting for her entire life. Shocked, I felt like she had lost her mind. I tried to understand how much she knew about him, but she kept insisting that the moment she laid eyes on him, she knew he was the one. I even brought up our children, hoping she would reconsider leaving them and our family for this seemingly random guy. She argued that he wasn't random and suggested we could share custody of the kids like any other separated couple. I couldn't fathom that she was willing to throw away our 18-year marriage for this young fling. When I questioned whether he was the reason for the boob job and the expensive car, she brushed it off defensively, accusing me of trying to control her and urging me to let it go. It felt like a slap in the face, and I couldn't believe what I was hearing. As we continued with the marriage counselor, it became clear that she had already made up her mind, and attending counseling was merely a formality for her to check some boxes. The argument continued when we got home, and I questioned how a 40-year-old woman and a 25-year-old man could be soulmates. She kept talking about their energies aligning and spouted some spiritual nonsense, claiming he was the one she had been waiting for, willing to sacrifice everything for him. When I brought up his girlfriend, she said he promised to break up with her. It felt like she was falling for some kind of scam, still in a fog. Despite the betrayal, I desperately wanted to save our marriage, thinking she had gone crazy. But as mentioned earlier, she had already made up her mind. After crying over the situation with our children, I decided to let her go and sign the divorce papers. She moved out of our house and into an apartment, taking a significant portion of my retirement fund and the car, leaving me with the house. Thankfully, she was financially independent due to her successful business, so I didn't have to pay spousal support. The kids were outraged by her recent behavior and vowed never to speak to her, despite my attempts to convince them that she was divorcing me, not them. Unfortunately, my efforts were in vain. Having primary custody of the kids, I chose not to ask her for child support, deciding to let her go. Since my kids didn't want to see her, and I had no desire to see her either, she practically disappeared from our family's life. For all intents and purposes, it felt like 6 months ago we had a family, and then she vanished off the face of the earth. Dealing with her departure, I went through a stage of depression, seeking support from group and family members who were on my side. Even her own family thought she had gone insane. Before the divorce was finalized in May 2022, I started hearing from her family members that her relationship with the 25-year-old host wasn't going well. She had expected him to move in with her after the divorce, but he kept giving her the runaround. Essentially, he was using her for money and refusing to leave his girlfriend. My ex-wife was now regretting abandoning her husband and kids for a man who refused to leave his girlfriend. I continued to receive some of her mail, and I noticed she had started speaking with her psychiatrist. I won't deny it, it felt good to hear about it. I had a close relationship with her younger sister, whom I always got along with well. She was eager to clue me in, and she appreciated me because I had helped her out of financial jams a couple of times when others had left her stranded. Around August 2022, I got a call from the police about my car being in an accident. The Cayenne S Coupe, still in my name since my ex-wife hadn't changed the title, was involved in a crash. Her boyfriend was driving and he was arrested for drunk driving. Fortunately, no one was harmed. When I called my ex-wife about it, she broke down, apologizing and explaining that he had taken the car without her consent and had been giving her the runaround. She didn't want to involve the police and was embarrassed to get me involved. She apologized, admitting that she had made a big mistake and asked for forgiveness. It was overwhelming to hear her confession, especially since I didn't know she was in such dire straits. Her business wasn't doing well and had gone downhill. I found it difficult to feel sorry for her, even though we had been married for so long. She left us high and dry for a stranger, and I couldn't trust her around me and my children. We had given her our love, our joy, everything, and she betrayed us for someone claiming to be her soulmate. She didn't have full coverage insurance for the car, so she lost it just like that after the accident. Towards the end of 2022, she attempted to be part of our Thanksgiving and Christmas celebrations, but my kids and I refused to see her. She pleaded with me and showed up randomly on New Year's, but we ignored her like a plague. It was really sad. She had obviously gained back the weight and looked like she had aged in such a short period. Although I tried to stay strong, seeing her in that condition kind of traumatized me for a few days. In early February 2023, she found out that I had started dating another woman. In response, she decided to go to court to seek visitation rights with our kids, accusing me of poisoning their minds. Of course, it wasn't true. She had abandoned us. After her failed attempt to reintegrate into our lives, she resorted to shaming me. She posted defamatory content on Facebook, trying to turn my friends and co-workers against me and tarnish my reputation. However, I quickly went to my lawyer, issued a cease and desist letter and forced her to take everything down, which she eventually did. Now, she plays the victim to whoever will listen, portraying me as a horrible person and claiming she's going through an emotional crisis while I wasn't there for her. I recently heard that her business is picking back up, but not to the level it was before. The last time I saw her, she looked like a shell of her old self. Despite still being good-looking and dating a few guys here and there, she seems to have fallen off significantly. As for me and my kids, we have tried to move on, but her presence remains a scar on our family that may never fully heal. At the moment, my current girlfriend serves as a good replacement. She is much younger and prettier, not that it matters, but it helps us focus on building a positive future,